Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, last week we finished reading the third book of Chumash, the book of Vayikra, which means that this week we are beginning the fourth book of Chumash, the book of Bamidbar. Now, of course, the first Parsha in the book of Bamidbar has the same name as the book, so we are also reading Parsha Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the desert, and the Parsha and the book are called Bamidbar because the whole book of Bamidbar takes place in the desert as the Jewish people are traveling on their way from Egypt, where we left in the back in the book of Shemot, on our way to Israel, to our home country of Israel. And the Parsha starts by saying this Parsha takes place on the first day of the second month, which is the month of Iyar, in the second year after we left Egypt. So it's just over a year since we left Egypt. And Hashem says to Moshe, I need you to count up the Jewish people so that I can know, so that we know who we're assigning jobs to, how many people we've got to assign the jobs that need to be done in the desert. And specifically, Moshe is supposed to count up all the men who are 20 years old and older. So he gets the names of each Shevet's leader, and Moshe and the Shevet leaders count up by Shevet, by tribe, all the men 20 years old and older, except for Shevet Levi, because Hashem says Shevet Levi, they've got a separate job. They're going to do separate special work with the Mishkan. We're going to count them separately. So after everyone else gets counted up, Hashem needs to tell us where to camp because we're not going to travel nonstop. We need to stop to sleep and take breaks. And when we stop, it's no good if we just like sleep any old where. We can't be all disorganized. We won't know where to find everyone and everything. So Hashem will tell us exactly the order where everyone will be camped whenever we stop in the desert. So let's take a look. Now we're going to map this out. And whenever we have a map, we need a compass to show us which direction is which. And I'm sure you know, whenever we draw a compass, your compass probably looks something like this: north, east, south, west, with north at the top at the front. Right? Wrong. In Torah times, they didn't make their compasses like this. A Torah era compass will not have north at the front, because in Torah times they would put east at the front or at the top of their maps. So their compass would look like this: east, south, west, north. And that is how they would organize their compass or their maps in Torah times. So we've got our map ready with our compass, east, south, west, north. Let's see who we've got. In the front, in the east, we have Shevet Yehuda with Yisachar and Zvulun beside them. In the south, on the side, we've got Shevet Reuven with Shimon and Gad beside them. All the way back in the west, we have Ephraim with the tribes of Menashe and Binyamin beside them. And on the last side in the north, we have Shevet Dan with the tribes of Asher and Naphtali beside them. Now, this layout you can see makes a sort of circle or square with a big open space in the middle. We're going to fill up that space because dead center, we put the Mishkan, and the Mishkan is surrounded by everybody else. And around the Mishkan and inside everyone else, we've got the Leviim. Shevet Levi is camped all around the Mishkan. Now, this makes sense because as you recall, Shevet Levi are going to have special jobs to do working in the Mishkan, working with the Mishkan. So, the Levites are going to have their special job. Great. Problem, Hashem says, hang on. All the firstborns already automatically belong to Hashem. And Hashem's like, but I don't want the firstborns. I want the Levites. So how are we going to do this? We've got a plan to fix it. We've got a little switcheroo coming up. So Hashem is going to tell Moshe to count up all the Levites who are 1 month old or older. All the Levi boys who are 1 month old and older. And Moshe counts them up. We've got 22,000 Levi boys who are 1 month old and older. Next, Moshe's going to count up the non-Levi firstborn boys who are 1 month old and older. So all the firstborn boys who are not from Shevet Levi, 1 month old and older, Moshe counts them up. We've got 22,273. These numbers are almost identical. We've got good news and bad news. The good news is these 22,000 Levies, their problem is solved because they have an equivalent 22,000 non-Levi firstborns. They all just switch places, shake on it. Okay, great. Now they've got the job they don't. Problem solved. The bad news is those remaining 273 non-Levi firstborns, they don't have Levites to switch places with. They're kind of stuck. What do? No problem, Hashem says. Each of those remaining 273 firstborns get to buy themselves back from Hashem by giving 5 shekels to a Kohen. After they give the money, they don't need to work for Hashem anymore. They've bought their way out. They've traded themselves instead of for a Levi for money. In fact, we do this even to today. It's called Pidyon Haben. whenever parents who are neither of them from Shevet Levi, when they have a firstborn baby boy, when their firstborn baby boy is 1 month old, they do Pidyon Ben. They give 5 coins to a Kohen, and they say in exchange they're buying their baby back from God. They get to keep their baby. And we do this even to today. So we've solved our problem with the Levies. Now we've done the switcheroo. The Levies are ready to work for Hashem. And now Hashem says, I want to start counting up the Levies because I do have those special jobs for Levi. We're going to do it by family because there are 3 families in Shevet Levi because Levi had 3 kids, Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. Each one of these 3 families is going to have their own job working with the Mishkan. We're going to start with the family of Kehat. So Hashem says, Moshe, you're going to count up all the boys in Shevet Kehat, in the family of Kehat and Shevet Levi, who are between the ages of 30 and 50 years old. And now the job for the guys from Kehat, it's a little complicated because they're going to carry the stuff from the Mishkan when we're traveling, but only the Kohanim are allowed to touch the stuff that goes in the Mishkan. Guys from Kehat aren't Kohanim. How can they touch it? So when we're ready to travel, first the Kohanim are going to wrap up all the Mishkan items in a special cloth. Then the guys from Kehat can carry the wrapped items because they're not touching the items, they're touching the cloth around it. And they will carry the wrapped up items from the Mishkan while we travel in the desert. And when we stop traveling, they'll set it down to get unwrapped and put in its place. That is the end of Parshat Bamidbar. Stay tuned next week for the jobs of the other 2 Levi families of Gershon and Merari. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a Chag Shavuot Sameach. I cannot wait to receive the Torah all together again this Shavuot.